Empezamos ya.
Empezamos ya. Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for sharing your time with us around, to discuss around smart cities. Sometimes we forget that half of the world's population live in a city or in an urban area, and in Europe this figure is 80%. So of course, population concentration poses a challenge for public managers and citizens. We're going to reflect about how technology can help us overcome these challenges. We have Miriam Díaz Herrera, who is the representative of Barcelona City Council, and Juan Bermejo, Chief of Innovation of the La Palma Cabildo. Welcome, and remotely from Buenos Aires, Gastón Navarro, who is the Deputy Secretary for Technology and IT of the Buenos Aires metropolitan area. So without further ado, we're going to start. Miriam, tell us a little bit more about Santander's vision. First of all, I would like to thank Telefónica for giving us the opportunity to share our transformation journey, Santander's transformation journey. We are becoming a smart city and a smart tourism destination. I am, of course, a public representative, but I'm going to be speaking about also tourism. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the journey that the city has undergone, the digital transformation pathway, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about where do we stand today. Now, Santander has been implementing technology for more than 10 or 12 years to different verticals, to different municipalities. Everything started in 2010 with a European project that Telefónica helped us coordinate, Smart Santander, with the participation of 15 countries. And we wanted to be the origin of an urban lab where to investigate. Ever since, digital transformation has been unstoppable in all our services, and we have introduced technology to achieve a better technology, to achieve a better management. The most important thing was to develop the smart city platform and the technical office in which Telefónica participates. Without your support and collaboration, it would be impossible. With me, the director of the office, and I keep saying that in all cities, they will need 2, 3, or 5 Veronicas in the process, otherwise things become impossible, too complicated. One of the key elements here is the strategy. The city needs to believe in the project. As I told you before, the project started 15 years ago, and the previous mayor was considered a loony by the citizens. Everyone was like, why is he implementing all these sensors all around the city? And of course, you need to implement the project in all the sectorial plans. I'm in charge of the tourism and trade plan, but it needs to be a horizontal project, such as, also in the mobility department, in the culture department, in all the sectoral plans. Technology needs to be included in all processes, and thanks to that, in 2018 we launched another new project. We wanted to become part of smart destinations. We had been working for quite a long time, 8 years, so in 6 months we became the city that made it very quick. We obtained a stamp that granted us the status of intelligent destination. The criteria are rather harsh. More than 300 elements or criteria to be, let's say, fulfilled. So we have been working on the methodology imposed, the homework, because we have a thick notebook with homework that needs to be done. And of course, what's even more relevant, which is developing an infrastructure and coming up with a sound plan with a beginning and an end, and in getting everyone on board. I'm going to be speaking about Smart Cities Santander, the project that we are implementing today. And I would like to speak also about the city's transformation. We've gone from a smart city to a smart destination. How a city can go through the process. Well, the first thing I shall say is that it's not an easy task, nor a quick one, because of course one needs to be patient, and sometimes technology, well, not sometimes, always, technology overruns bureaucracies, because us, public administrations, are boringly slow. Of course, it requires of a team and a strategy. If you don't count with a team, it's going to be very difficult for you to get there, and it needs, I mean, it's very important also to get all the municipal services on board. Everyone needs to be aware of the project, and everyone needs to be committed with the project. Regarding how we did it, well, we renewed the main municipal contracts, and we required the implementation of technology in all the public tenders hired in the private market, and we also introduced a new methodology, which is not an easy task. We are still in that stage. We are a smart city, but of course there's a lot of way ahead. And as I said before, we required open and interoperable solutions with the aim to reduce costs, enhance efficiencies, and obtain as much information as possible as we have today in the city. We have sources of information which are external, big data, all sorts of sources of information that we need to put in order. And this has been possible thanks to the Smart City platform, which, well, hand in hand with Telefónica has been developed. Also, hand in hand with NEC, we deployed a city's brain that integrates, and this is in charge of the technical office, ordering things up, tidying things up, getting to know each other, getting to know our weaknesses, our strengths and weaknesses, where we can improve, etc. And this is key to count with the participation of such an office. Another key area that really helped us was developing some command frames. Today you can see the big circle here. The big circle has to do with tourism. It's the first circle. You can log in, those who take decisions, and see how cities are evolving from different perspectives, from different parameters, and how things are happening, right? In my case, I check statistics on where tourism happens, what experiences they buy, which ones they value, which ones they don't. So this has changed the way we work. Now we are much more focused. We don't lose time, and of course this turns into greater efficiency. And for that, in order to transform and integrate data, as I said before, you need to count on the participation of a team and also a physical structure. And a structure which is also helping in the last bit of the project. We are considering the citizen as a 360 citizen, and what we would like in the framework of this project, where we work in the national strategy of smart cities, is to develop or implement 12 actions. Oh, here. 9 actions, or 9 actions that foresee we're also using a citizen's card for Santander citizens, a physical and digital card where they can have access to all municipal services, paid services, free services. We have a city APP. Before we had 40,000 APPs, now we only have one, like a single window, a very interesting citizens participation platform. recharge points, games for children implemented throughout the city. Beacons will start implementing the tourism signals to obtain more information about tourists' behavior in the city. Individuals counting in public buildings and strategic spots, and all these elements need to be integrated, of course. This is key. Are you already foreseeing the impact in the management of all this deployment? Indeed, the first dashboard that you can see here, well, integration is tricky, but the tourism dashboard has already been, let's say, launched. Of course, sources of information are never-ending, but you can see the evolution of data management. You have benchmark possibilities, etc. So, for decision makers, this really makes things easier. Thank you very much, Miriam. Juan Antonio, after checking the experience of Santander, medium-sized city, how do you implement this technology in an island? And not any island, an island where you have gone through a volcano eruption, one of the biggest ones in Europe. So tell us a little bit more. Well, first of all, we would like to thank Telefónica for your invitation. The La Palma Smart Island project aims at providing solutions to a rural environment, an island, an insular environment with limitations related to living in an island. 10 years ago, we started working on our SMART project, and we've learned from different innovative projects that were started in Spain, like Santander and other cities. And, well, we wanted to gather success stories, best practices, in order to implement them in the island. You need to bear in mind that the environment is very different. We are in a rural environment, in an insular environment. So, of course, we have used this for open government, tourism, and other environments. We are now working on the deployment. Telefónica was the company chosen for the implementation of the technological deployment. And now we will have a smart office. The smart office will allow us to interact with citizens, the meeting point between the public administration, citizens, and companies and the third sector, a meeting point where innovation labs, public innovation labs are going to be deployed, and this will allow us to interact through the open government platform. This smart office will also be in charge of implementing a strategic and communication plan. This is very important. So, we have been working on pilot projects also, because of course this comes from the innovation service. Everything that has been implemented today has already been tested in the past. We know it's going to work, and I believe this is going to be key for the success of the project. We've tested them, they work, and they are socially accepted. The company, of course, can obtain benefits from our developments. The urban platform, which is going to be incorporated, the open government, with the open government platform and the deployment of a large capacity in terms of sensors that will allow us to count individuals, cars, waste, and other parameters, recycling pathways, air quality. We're known for the quality of our air and our sky, so we're going to be enhancing the quality of our air and our sky because it is related to astrotourism visiting us, and they need quality maps to check the different spots where they can observe the sky, different items to control circulation, mobility, elements to improve energy efficiency in public buildings. So we have 25 projects that we are embedded in one single project. The important thing here, and what I believe that really makes a difference, is that the project stems in order to produce public value with the participation of citizens and companies, as well as third sector organization. We have reached an agreement with more than 85 institutions that support the project, and even more importantly, we have funded it with our own funds.
So this implies all the island administrations with the funding, and it is important that all the services are engaged, and this is what we're doing now with this project. Thank you very much, Juan Antonio. Now we move to Gastón, to the experience of a big city, big metropolis like Buenos Aires. Gastón, tell us, well, how's this project? Thank you very much for having invited me and explaining this goal and how we can include Telefónica. And the city of Buenos Aires wants to improve the processes, an ongoing improvement. Also the resources of the city of Buenos Aires, the arrival time was one of the main things. This goal can be explained as follows. So putting the good resource in the good place and the good moment. When we talk about a city with more than 200 square kilometers and with more, do you hear me? Yeah, we hear you, but it cuts sometimes. So we talk and with more than 40,000 resources, the complexity of accessing these resources so that they are in the best place at the best moment is difficult. And telecommunications here and in our project, as you can see, and the first idea is to geolocate all these different resources and in different platforms, police, traffic, ambulances. And the first project that took place is how to connect these people on real time. And it is a just-in-time service, so you can connect in real time, and it has to be present, and the communication has to be an ongoing communication. Otherwise, you will not have access to the resources, and we will not be able to put the resource in the best time at the best moment. And also, this example that I mentioned with more than 40,000 resources in the city, when there is an event, a concrete event in the city of Buenos Aires, we can geolocate such resources. And if there is a call to 911, we generate a radius, and in just a few seconds, we know the availability of the resources. And in order to get to this point, we worked together with the Telefónica in order to make these communications, the type of devices, the geolocation, and the movement and of all the different telephones in these 40,000 devices, resources. So as a result, something that is complicated. We need to have the good resource when there is an event and the exact point as soon as possible. So since we started this project, the arrival time of our resource to the place has been reduced, and it's an ongoing improvement. And we keep on working with our telecommunications provider, and we can improve the latency and the access times. So how does the citizen see it? Well, the citizen wants to see this resource when there is a situation, and it has to be the best resource. And also when there is a specific situation. So all this process, this communication, this mesh of communication, so to say, is of more 44,000 devices that transmit and connect on real-time, geolocalized on real-time, depending on the time of functioning. So how could this help us in a big reduction of the access times? Well, thank you very much, Gastón. Very interesting. So, Miriam, you were saying that you're a pioneer city in the digitalization of services and in these smart city technologies. So, where are you going now? What's your future? You became one of the first destinations, smart destinations. So where are you going now? Well, the challenge would be to finish the implementation of all these elements that I mentioned. And in all the services, we are talking about sensors and measuring efficiency, lighting, traffic, pollution, water, pipes, and the waste services. So we really want to make the most of these, the same way we did it with tourism in this big platform. So we want to consolidate these and also opening up this data. And in my case, that the tourism sector gives support because they have a lot of information to share the information, and so that it is a win-win situation to define your strategies, etc. So we see that the flow shows us that maybe we have to focus on the Netherlands or in France, and we are already doing this with the Botin Center, with the museums. We share information. And also to strengthen and expand what we already have, and also that it's not bad sharing information with the public administration, with all the protection that we can have. So if I'm listening to you from another city in Spain, what would you tell me? Which are the key points so that a project like this is successful? Well, a strategy, team, patience, well, and that we really need it if we want to be competitive. And there is also a competition between cities, and the talent in this competition. If you are not in this league, you start from a disadvantaged position. So you need to create an infrastructure and be very patient. So the implementation of this project has happened with the eruption of the volcano. So how did that impact you, and how can these platforms help you if you had already deployed it before the eruption started? This is the big question. The technology has proven to be very useful for the citizens to measure and to keep the population well informed. The technology was important before the eruption, with the deployment of the plants, the structure, the sensors, and real time in order to measure something that was already forecasted when the eruption started. The real-time follow-up, the messages, information, emergency, loud-speaking services, and accesses through QR systems, video surveillance. So it has been a process that has been very followed up by the media, thanks to technology. So the project was not fully implemented, but we have developed some pilot projects, and we could do a real-time control. We could measure the gases, the video surveillance for the control and access to people. So the technology developed a very important role, although we hadn't deployed it fully. And it is important that islands like La Palma and many others to have this type of tools and platforms that allow us to have a real communication, information and decision-making process. Gastón, so you talked during your presentation, more than 50,000 devices connected to the platform, many devices. So what's the impact of having everything connected to the platform for the managers of the city of Buenos Aires? Well, first of all, this means having information. This is very important when making our decision. The big challenge would be to take the correct information and filter it correctly. And the main goal is that this information is processed in real time, and then we decide which resource to choose, because there are a lot of resources, as I said, and ambulances, firefighters. So we need to interpret on real time which is the problem or the event that takes place. And this way we can define and decide which person. And we can keep the information on real time and then understand all the different resources. And how can we translate it? Thank you very much. I asked Miriam if she could talk about the future. So now that you have consolidated the deployment of the platform, which are the technological new elements that you haven't incorporated or the new functionalities you're going to deploy? Well, there are many. The project now is based on sensors, but there are some vertical sectors that we still haven't developed. Smart tourism is one of the areas we need to mobilize. Mobility in the island, and also the distribution of population in rural areas. It is something we still need to work on, and also something we need to focus on. We need to explain these technologies in the correct way so that the population understands that there is always an explanation behind our decisions, because many questions are already solved and they facilitate our life. And sometimes we don't explain this. Smart city, smart island projects need to follow this same idea. So we take decisions, but we need to establish a relationship with the citizens, with the society, in order to generate a public value. And this process will have to be explained, and the technology is not very well deployed, and it is a challenge we have in the following years. And this question is for the three of you. The perception of the citizen. And it is a project focused on security. And if it can be a user. So Gastón, please, which is the perception? Well, it is very positive, and we see that people understand that the resources get to the city. Well, we have to devote a very important part to communication. Why we did this information and which is the goal? The intangible thing depends on the types of the society that you have. And we suffered some problems. So it's like saying, why are they deploying all these different sensors? And we see that we can make decisions, the practical application, and COVID has been very dramatic for us. And we've been able to implement a tool and you know the degree of occupation and how is the situation. So they see a practical application. So we use it for the management of the services, and we see that things happen on time. So this is why we need to have this information and to invest on disseminating the information. Do you think that a moment will come when you decide a touristic destination, you will look for this type of information, you know, to make your mind about the destination? Well, in the end, we are talking about improving the quality and the services of a city. And I think that everybody wants to go and visit a city in which you can live well. So it's not only the management and application of the services, but also the destination as a city, and using technology and the internationalization and the efficient management of the resources so that the locals live well and the visitors live well. And this is what we find it's more positive. And how about the acceptance of citizens? Well, the project is still starting, and during the process, we tried to relate the things that we did with the SMART project so that when they understand, when they receive information about the CO2 conditions of the air is bad, is linked to the SMART product, because we have sensors, they are communicated, they receive this, and we generate maps on real time. And also we link it to everything, the quality of the air, the weather stations, and everything is linked to this idea in order to generate this. But it is true that at a certain point, and we are suffering a process of regenerating and planning, there is some skepticism And, well, Miriam said so. Yeah, there is some skepticism. And one of our goals is to explain all these and to reach all sectors through mass social media, etc. Because in the end, there are things we still can improve and some components that will allow us to give a better service. In Santander, there is another tool, and and then the citizens can contribute. And this is where we can see this notification. You have helped us a lot in fixing these, and then they feel that they belong, that they participate. And now everything goes even faster. And people who now are 30 didn't demand these 10 years ago when they were 20. So you need to keep on adapting yourself. So this question and this effort has been done by you. You talked about the smart tourism, and we can see some components around this concept. And sustainability, digitalization, modernization of the citizens. And also, digitalization and sustainability are a must in Santander. We want to collect 26 million euros, and we have obtained already 13 confirmed. And through the sustainable plans, 4 million euros, the extraordinary call, and we are going to use it for different things related to the management and tourist product, and also to improve this fantastic area, because Santander, the southern part is where the metropolitan area is located, and also the north with the cliffs, the wild coast. And we are going to improve the commerce, and some things we are completely certain that we will be able to execute them, and everything has to be executed on the 31st of December, and we are behind the schedule. So this week also that we have 7 million euros for the mobility plan, with this important transformation in the way we are going to improve the mobility, and in the management of the parking spaces, these ways of parking spaces. It is an opportunity we need to make the most. And we need more brains and more hands. Otherwise, we could attend other calls if we had more hands. And with these projects that are already linked, and also we can think about the strategy. And we need to know what's missing as a city, and the evaluation of these smart touristic destinations. And I invite you to collaborate, because it helps you a lot. And it is a smart destination tourism, and we need to improve the lives of locals and visitors. Well, we are almost over. Any questions? Well, thank you very much for being here. It's been really interesting. Thank you, Gastón. Bye.